everyone, and welcome to the Eternal X Wolfpack Paranormal Podcast. It's been a pretty busy weekend. Yesterday, I went to a Comic-Con and toy show up in Peoria, Illinois at the Northwoods Mall, and I got to visit the Heart of Illinois Center for Unexplained Phenomenon. David Salter and his team, actually a couple members of his team. I got to meet him up there. They were at the convention, and I stopped and talked with him and Doc. And hopefully I got a chance to meet you yesterday, and hopefully you got a chance to meet them today. Here's a picture of me and David and Doc. We were all just standing there chit-chatting for a little while, and I got to sit with them and talk for a while, and it was a great experience with those guys. I'm definitely looking forward to teaming up with them in the future, especially this summer for sure. Today, I also got to hang out with a few of my friends. I got invited to go to lunch with Miss Jamie Lynn Keller, and we went to the 11th inning up in Silva, Illinois, or I should say Rock Island. But anyway, all of us showed up there today. We had Jamie Lynn, Sierra, Alicia, Derek, Tom, Richard, and Mr. Bill Walter himself from Broadhead Manor showed up. So we all had a great time eating lunch and catching up. It was fun to get with them guys today, and I hope they all had a safe trip home as well. But tonight we have the co-host of the Medium Frequency with Raven Wolf, and he is also a podcaster with Raven and us here on the All Access Network Television. And we're going to introduce him now, Mr. Christopher J. Brown.
How's it going?
How you doing?
Doing quite well.
You're doing quite well. We've got one in here already. Hey, Moose, how you been, bro?
I wonder if he's from Maine. We got a lot of moose up here.
He's not. He's from London Mills. So we also got Mr. Victor Santiago from the Don Vic Show. He's a hell of a guy. Definitely check out his podcast as well. So, Christopher, something I kind of ask everybody at the beginning of the show. So my fan base can get to know you a little better unless they haven't been watching my channel, because I know you guys podcast on my channel as well. But can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yeah. So I kind of got into the paranormal, like officially, around like 10 years ago is when I really started like doing like live investigations and like going to conventions and things like that. Mm-hmm. I definitely am an investigator, but I'm also a psychic medium. And I kind of got into all that through paranormal investigating. Like that really opened me up to discovering that I could do things like that. There's, a lot of the times in the beginning, it was like I'd go to these haunted locations and like I would feel energy from the spirits that were there, which was really, really cool because it validated for me what I was feeling. Like, it's like, because a part of it was like, I thought I was losing my mind. Right. Am I crazy? Like, I don't know. I'm sure a lot of people that are, in this field and their mediums go through the same thing, but I definitely thought I was going crazy. And so having the validation that these people and these spirits that I was connecting with was getting validated was cool. That did lead me down more of like a healing path. So when I do readings now, I focus more on connecting people with their loved ones who they know, who they can validate, whether it's friends, family, pets come through sometimes. I've really focused my attention on that lately. But, I still do investigations. I'm still active in the paranormal, and I absolutely love it. It's kind of how I got into it. I grew up in a haunted house, a very haunted house, actually. It was like I jokingly call it cliche haunted just because whatever you could imagine that was paranormal happened in this house. You know what I mean? Like from shadow figures to disembodied voices to, full-blown apparitions, people knocking on my door. It was, I don't know. I hope that I never have to live in a house like that ever again. And thank God the house that I live in now doesn't have that. I would much rather go to another person's location and deal with it there than my own home. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I can definitely understand that for sure.
That definitely opened my eyes and like my thought process to the possibility of there being more to what I'm seeing visually. You know what I mean? Like there's more to life than just physical. There's also a spiritual world out there too. I'm also a spiritualist minister, although I don't do much of the church aspect around that. a Reiki master. I've got 2 books out now. Yeah, so that's a little bit about me. Yeah, I'm also a co-host of the Medium Frequency with Raven Wolf, which, Raven, if you're watching, hello. And anybody who has seen the show, hello, and thank you for tuning in.
Yeah, we've got Susan Victoria in the house as well. So when you were growing up and you started experiencing your gifts, did you have anybody that you could actually talk to about it at the time? Or did you just think you were losing it and not understanding what was going on or just being weird?
D, all of the above. I mean, no. So I guess I shouldn't say all of the above because when I was like growing up and when I was coming all into this stuff, like I had nobody to talk to about any of this stuff. I mean, there was no, like my mom, one, didn't believe in any of the paranormal stuff that was going on in the house because for whatever reason, it didn't affect her. Like my brother and sister definitely affected them, but it didn't affect my mom at all, which was weird. And as far as like my mediumistic or, things like that abilities, like I didn't even know that was a thing. Like, it's not like we weren't watching John Edward Crossing Over when I was growing up, you know what I mean? Like, or any of those types of things. I had no clue. It was only really once I got into the paranormal about 10 years ago, or maybe a little more, in and around that time where I was like, I would see the people that were doing mediumship and I'd be like, okay, like, what does that even mean? Like, it sounds kind of silly, but I'd watch these videos that would say like 10 things that list like you might be a medium. And I'd check off all the boxes and I'm like, well, this has got to mean something. I got to research this and dig into it. But no, I had nobody to talk to about it when I was younger. It was something that was, to be honest with you, I'll share a little bit of my background. Like I've had like a lot of mental health struggles over the years. And I think part of that was because I didn't understand what was going on with the mediumship stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I was hearing these voices that were unclear, sounded like murmurs or just like when you're in a room full of people or a restaurant and just everybody's talking around you and you can't quite make out the in particular conversation.
Right.
That's exactly how it sounded to me, like a lot of the time.
Like garble.
Garble, exactly. And I was like, and so, obviously I would go and get myself checked out and I talked to these psychiatrists and stuff. And they're like, yeah, well, we got to give you a bag full of medications. And those didn't help. Those didn't work. It was only when I got into discovering the mediumship stuff and training myself as a medium that now it's all gone. It's quiet because I can turn it on and turn it off. Like I learned that discipline and it's like, it has done so much good for my overall mental health and just regular health and just, things like that. So, yeah.
Most definitely. I can understand that. Let's see here. I'm going to check here. Susan Victoria shared out. Thank you very much, Susan. I appreciate that. Christy Rico is in the house.
Hey, Christy.
Your co-host has entered the building, Miss Raven Wolf.
Hey, Raven.
Let's see. And Moose says, I can get overwhelmed at times myself.
Yeah.
I know when my daughters were growing up, they got anxiety. And to me, since I've been in the paranormal field and started understanding the things that I know now in energy and Reiki and stuff, do you think the high energy and being an empath caused some of the chaos that they think is being, how do I say? I'm trying to think of the word for it. Aggravated, I guess, would probably be the best word.
I mean, I think you're spot on with that. I mean, so like, I will say this, every time I'm in front of a crowd doing a gallery reading, or every time I'm doing at a paranormal investigation and I'm connecting with the spirits there, or if I'm doing a private reading with somebody, I get that severe anxiety, like that real strong, like vibration in my solar plexus. And it really, like, if you don't know what that is, it absolutely can be like, I'm just feeling overwhelmingly anxious and it feels like it's overpowering. You know what I mean? So I think that influx of energy absolutely can make you feel like that's what's going on. You know what I mean? Like there definitely coexists,
because everybody that I know that has anxiety always says they can't figure out what triggers it.
Right.
And I kind of related to that energy that you're picking up being the empath, because it's just overwhelming and you can't process it fast enough. I mean,
Yeah. It's just coming in too quick. And like you said, you can't digest it. You can't filter it enough. And it builds up and you're like, this energy is just driving me excuse me. Driving me nuts. You know what I mean? Like,
right.
and it is overwhelming at times. And I can't stress enough, if there's anybody who is feeling that way as an empath, just understand that there are certain things that you can kind of do to help mitigate that. You know, you can, like, for me personally, I say things like, if it's not mine, let it go. Right. And that kind of
Right.
just helps me let go of that energy and just be like, it's like setting boundaries with yourself too. It's hard as empaths because sometimes those boundaries don't get set and we just pick up on it anyway, just because that's our nature. If we see someone crying or we see somebody upset, we're naturally going to be upset. If we see someone angry, it's going to be like,
Oh,
but
most definitely.
I think that, trying those things can definitely help try to control and, or at least help you understand what's going on in those moments to help, make it less intense.
I think I got my first taste of anxiety as the fact of, they gave me some medicine one time and they told me to take it 3 times a day. And come to find out, when I went to go sleep, I couldn't. I was just hyped up, couldn't sleep, couldn't lay down, couldn't do nothing.
Yeah.
And I finally started understanding what some of these people were feeling. And then I figured out it was the medicine doing it. So I cut back on it. Then I was fine. And also, when my Reiki master gave me my Menaki rights, about the second right, when I was going through it, when I was walking through Walmart, you could just feel that energy. I mean, it was just like a ping pong ball just bouncing everywhere. And it's like, whoa. Until you started to finally understand what it was and to control it. Like you said, start slowing yourself down a little bit. But
yeah,
I do finally understand what anxiety means to some people, because I did have a test with it with some meds I was on at one time. And it's crazy. I mean, I don't know how a lot of people deal with it.
I don't know. I mean, I don't know if you can ever get used to it, because it never is a feeling that I think you could get used to. But I think, like you said, I mean, understanding it is crucial. If you can understand something, it becomes less scary, right? I mean, that we fear what we don't understand, and I think the more knowledge we have and the more stuff that we can do to educate ourselves about it, the less intense it can be.
Most definitely. And some of the handicapped people, I live next to KCCD home here. And I actually take some of the residents for a walk once in a while and stuff, so they can kind of get out and help them out over there.
Sure.
And I can just imagine what they're experiencing because of some of the way they grew up, or how they grew up, not understanding things. I just wonder what they see from their experience, because I know their third eye has to be open with an open mind at sometimes, because they don't know any better.
Right. I think that there are some schizophrenic people, or, I mean, I say it in air quotes, but like maybe they're just mediums that are just blasted so wide open that they can't get it, controlled in a grounded level. You know what I mean? They're getting all this spiritual energy and they don't know what is spiritual and what is physical world stuff, which can be so confusing. I mean, that's kind of what happened to me. I mean, they literally diagnosed me with something called schizoaffective disorder. You know what I mean? And clearly that's not the case, but that's what they thought, and I think it was because I didn't understand that it was a spiritual connection I was having. And I think the same thing with people that are in that situation. They might just be, like I said, so tapped in and so connected to that. It's like, who are you talking to? Well, I'm talking to Chad. Little do they know, Chad was somebody who passed away 10 years ago that wants to just get his voice heard, or just wants that connection. You never know.
And then they don't understand how to pass it on to somebody else because they don't know any different.
Exactly. And I think that with mediumship, it takes a very, there's a lot of discipline that goes with it, and like being able to turn it on, turn it off, or like setting goals with the spirit world too. Like when I started doing it, I wanted to only focus on validating things that people can know. You know what I mean? If I'm at a haunted location, I don't want to pick up on something that can't be validated. If I'm in front of you, if like say I was doing a reading for you, I don't want to pick up on somebody where you're like, yeah, no, I never heard of that person at all. don't know what you're talking about. Because it doesn't do you or the person in spirit any good. You know what I mean? Like, and I think truly mediumship when done is a healing on both sides, both you and the one in spirit as well.
Right.
So.
I mean, I guess it takes a lot of patience just to sit there and be able to listen to somebody and try to analyze and put it together on how they see it before you can actually super make a judgment about it. Because, like I said, sometimes they may not understand it themselves, and then you got to be able to explain it to them.
Right. 100%.
Yeah, and I've come across a lot of people like that before. And it's interesting because, like I said, you got to break it down for them and then say, hey, get rid of the bad, push away what you don't need, and focus on what you need to focus on instead of just letting everything hit you at once.
Right.
That's definitely for sure. So in order for your meditation and concentration, did you get that from your Reiki experience?
It definitely helped. You know what I mean? Learning about the chakra system, learning about how that affects, your body and how each different chakra affects a different kind of faculty. I mean, like I said, knowledge is power, right? So the more I learned about the energetic system in our bodies, the more it helped me with that. And meditating, I'm not the best meditator. I'm not going to lie. I mean, I do a lot of like guided meditations, especially when I'm getting ready to go to bed, because I got kind of ADHD brain, like my mind's going a mile a minute without all the external stuff, so it's hard for me to meditate sometimes. However, I do it and it does help for sure. And if I do a meditation, like I said, it's more of like a guided kind of a thing. And sometimes I'll do like a waking meditation where like, I'm just kind of like, say I'm taking the dogs for a walk. I'm just looking out at the nature, and I'm just trying to empty my mind and only focus on what I'm looking at in front of me. You know what I mean? So it helps kind of slow things down a little bit.
I know for me, being able to sit and meditate and do it for a while is probably best for me, but I also use frequencies. Do you use a frequency sometimes to be able to do that?
No, I should though. I mean, maybe I might without knowing. I mean, there's some YouTube meditations that say like, such and such hertz, and that might be what I'm using too. So I might be without knowing it.
I know when I don't get a chance to meditate at night, I'll put it on a frequency and I'll actually let it play all night long. And that'll actually get me going into my dream state and everything else and get my mind refocused. But it does help a lot.
What's the frequency that you use?
I use 128 healing for one.
Yep.
And then I'll use the ones that clear out all the chakra. I think it's 477. I think I got it written down. Something along that line that'll help you clear out all your chakras and realign them again.
Cool. All right. I will definitely take that in. I'm gonna look into that because I could probably implement that much more than I do now.
Yeah, I actually got it written down. I could look it up for you and send you a pic of it.
Please do. Yeah.
I believe the psychiatrists look to see if hearing voices and seeing things bothers you too. That need meds. Otherwise, they say you're normal. I do agree with that. Yeah, I do agree with that. What's that frequency? Well, like I said, I use 128 megahertz for like the healing frequency sometimes. And anything that's got like rippling water in it seems to work really well for me. Being outside, like that outside environment just to relax you. I use that a lot.
It's funny you say that. There's times where I do a full day of readings, right? Where I'm booked at a shop or whatever. And I'll do 6 to 10 readings. After each reading I will ritualistically put water over my face 3 times. Kind of wash my face 3 times with water, and it really helps me maintain my energy throughout the day.
That's interesting. You use water. I use fire. I'll light a candle, and then I'll put it, and I'll take the heat, and I'll go over the top and realign my chakras when they come out of line. That's the way I was taught, and I'll realign each chakra going down. But I use the fire ceremony for that, and everybody's different. Everybody's learned a little different. And water, like you said, you use water. But I've used a flame or a fire, and it seems to work good for me. It actually energizes my chakras a lot more, I think, for me anyway.
That's cool.
YouTube has a lot of music. Yep, YouTube does. That's where I get them from. And I actually got a lot written down. So, energy work. How often do you use energy work with your when you channel things for their certain things? I mean, you focus in on your energy,
Yep.
but how do you channel that energy to a specific point?
I mean, I think that it doesn't look like how, I mean, like Reiki would look, I guess, because Reiki is kind of hands-on. When I'm doing readings, I kind of visualize, it's like coming from them through me and to the person I'm sitting with. So it kind of just transmutes in a different way, I guess, if that makes sense. Um, as far as the energy work goes, I think mediumship is absolutely energy work, just in a different way. I think I'm using my words to facilitate that energy work as opposed to maybe hands-on healing. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. For for me, when I'm reading people, I focus on their energy, and it seems like that vibration of their energy will relate to words to me of what needs to be done at the time.
Okay.
And that seems to work really well for me. And then also, for apparitions, I don't see a full apparition. I've only seen like 2 full apparitions before.
Yep.
But when I see an apparition from a distance, it's like energy to me. It's like heat coming off the asphalt.
Right. It's
That's
like,
what.
you ever seen the movie Predator?
Yeah, it's kind of
When
like
the Predator's kind of invisible.
Mhm.
Yeah.
That's kind of what it looks like to me when I see an apparition. It's not a full-fledged apparition. I can't distinctly tell what exactly, but I can see it there. But if then I focus on the energy and feel that energy, I can tell if it's male, female,
Yep.
and the fact if it's bad or good, because it does give off a different type of an energy.
Absolutely. It's funny for me sometimes when I'm doing paranormal investigating and I try to figure out, or like, what spirits are in the room or whatever. Very much like you said, I don't necessarily see them often. Like I can see them with my visual eyes. It's almost like they pop up in my mind's eye and then I feel it. It's like a clairsentient, clairvoyant kind of a feeling. You know what I mean? It's kind of like those two combined in a sense. It's kind of odd.
Mm-hmm. It
And
is.
sometimes I'll get like, an image of like as clear as I'm looking at you now. And sometimes it's more of like a silhouette in my mind, which is interesting too. And then I'll get the feeling of either male or female, and then certain information will come through. But it very much differs from person to person that's in spirit, I've found too. If somebody was a very much like if they talked in metaphors, they're going to use more imagery with me. If they're very direct, they might just use clairaudience and be like, hey, my name is so-and-so, and this is what's going on. I think that they use the clairs in conjunction with what their personality was when they were still living and what their personality is now that they're in spirit. You know what I mean?
Right. Linda Judd here asks, do you ask if a being wants to be crossed over?
So me personally, and this might be controversial, I do not know. I think that is not something that is my job. I think that's above my pay grade. I don't get into that sort of thing because from my personal beliefs, I don't think anybody's stuck here. That's just me. I know there's people that are going to disagree with me, and that's cool. I'm totally open to dialogue, and I'm not set in my way of that. If there's an alternative viewpoint of that, I'm open to it. However, me personally, I don't feel like anybody's stuck here necessarily. I think that there can be residual energies that hang around. I think that people can also maybe feel connected to staying here, but maybe not forced. Do you know what I mean?
I can see that.
It's just my opinion, but it's a long-winded way of saying no. I do not ask if they need to be crossed over. I feel like, in my viewpoint, what God or whatever you want to call it, that's up to them. That's up to a higher power, something that is above my pay grade. I guess is the best way to put it.
Yeah, I know that I've experienced some things on investigations where we've actually had spirits trap other spirits there, and we've gotten rid of that spirit, and the others have crossed over.
Okay. Yeah.
And we actually got names coming over the ovulus, like 13 kids' names at the time.
Oh, wow. Yeah. I mean, I know that there's a lot of people that do that. I mean, oh, hey, Jim. There's rescue mediums, and there's a lot of people that bring people into the light and things like that. It's just not something that I have experienced myself personally. So I don't really know enough about it to give an honest response to it. You know what I mean? So that's
Right.
just my answer,
I think until somebody actually, like you said, has that experience or it comes across, everybody is different because of their experiences and what they've witnessed. And until you come across those, you'll have your opinion and somebody else will have theirs. And that's fine.
Yeah. Yeah. And I totally fully, like I said, my opinions are not set in stone. I'm always learning. I'm always growing. I'm always open to new experiences. So I am willing to say that it is absolutely a possibility and that it's a probability. Me personally, have not experienced it or done it myself. That's all.
What's one experience that you've had that really makes you wonder and you can't debunk it?
Oh man. Well, there's quite a few actually. That's a great question, man. As far as paranormal investigating goes,
yeah.
I can say so I'll start when I grew up in that house, right?
Mm-hmm.
There was this one thing that happened to me, and at the time I was a teenager, full of piss and vinegar, dealing with a lot of depression, anxiety, anger, all the stuff that teenagers deal with, right? So that's kind of like setting the groundwork for the story. But in this house, it was a 3-story duplex. Second floor was the bathroom, and so I was getting ready to take a shower. So I was like, okay, well, I took my shoes off. I go in the shower. I look at the rack. I'm like, oh, I need a towel. Well, the towels were downstairs. The stairwell was just outside of the bathroom door. And outside of the bathroom door was a pull switch light. It had a loop in it, but it was all swirled around. You know what I mean? Like there was no way it could have opened or anything like that. I tried to debunk it over and over again. However, I went to go put my shoes down right in front of that rope. And then I was like, oh yeah, I need a towel. So I went to go walk downstairs and it was around my neck. So it got caught on my neck and I went, and I had to catch myself, had I not been able to catch myself and collect, stand up, take the thing off, I would have hung myself essentially. And people would have said, he committed suicide. That's just how he went because of the anxiety and the depression and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
Like I said, I tried to debunk that over and over and over again. And it's still, I'm like, I don't know how that happened. If it wasn't for the spiritual, you know what I mean? There was an energy in that house that was bad. It was a son of a bitch. It was just mean. And I think that was its way of proving that to me. So that was one thing I can't explain or anything like that.
Have you tried to go back and attack it again or find out exactly what it was or what entity it was?
So funny story. I continuously have reoccurring dreams about that house. Right. And I drive by it all the time. It's about an hour from me south. Right.
Mm-hmm.
But I take martial arts classes, and the martial arts dojo that I go to is not far from the house I grew up in. So I drive by there all the time. I could knock on the door at any given moment and say, hey, this is what's going on, yada, yada. But for whatever reason, I don't. And I think, honestly, I'm a little afraid of what it might bring up for me. Because a lot of bad shit happened in that house. You know what I mean? A lot of trauma from spiritual and just regular life happened in that house. And like I said, I will have reoccurring dreams of that home where it's always the same house, but a different situation. Sometimes it's really bizarre. Sometimes it's really scary. Sometimes it's just like I had a dream where I was like training in a dojo, but it was the living room of that house. Another time I was in that house and like there was things chasing me all over that I couldn't see. So it really depends. But like, I don't want to personally knock on the door and say, hey, this was my situation when I lived there. Would you mind if I did an investigation or whatever? Because what if whatever was there is dormant and then I open it up and then it affects the family again? You know what I mean? Or affects the family that's living there currently. And I would hate for that to be the case. Or maybe it's already affecting people. I don't know. But to be honest with you, I think that it's a little bit of like that nervousness, that little bit of being scared of the crazy things that happened in that house and seeing it again in person. It just was intense, So like, I'd like to, it looks good on paper, but honestly, it freaks me out.
That's kind of interesting. it kind of seems like it's wanting to play tricks with your mind and just linger with you, kind of like a djinn would, you know?
Yeah. It seems to fuck with me in that way. And it's like, it's just, it really like, there's a pull. There was a strong pull. And Jim asked, have you ever parked outside of the house and looked out to see what you feel? 100%. And I don't feel good. I'm like, I just go right back to those moments. I mean, I could show you goosebumps on my arm right now. It's just like, drives me nuts. Like the curiosity is killing the cat, but also there's somewhat of like self-preservation that's going on too, because whatever was there, like I said, was mean. It was not pleasant. It did not want us there. You know what I mean? So it's hard.
Linda Judge says here, a reoccurring dream could be astral projection. To me, astral projection is where you got control of your dream and you're being able to go where you want, when you want. It'd be more like a reoccurring energy that keeps coming back to him that's affecting him and making him redream dreams over and over again, like like a time loop of some type that alters a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, I'm 41 now, and when I moved out of that house, I think I was 17. So it's been a long time.
Interesting.
And like I said, to this day, I mean, I had one the other night. I was in that house. It was weird. It's crazy. And I wake up every time I'm like, again, Like,
so do you ever see the entity in your dream that you know of?
I can feel it. I can feel it in my bones, but I can never see it. I don't know what or why it is, it's weird.
It's kind of interesting.
Right.
It's definitely interesting.
So that's something I can't explain for sure.
Huh. Now you got my curiosity up. That's the first time I've heard of a dream that keeps reoccurring and a little different and altering all the time. So that.
Yeah. I mean, like I said, the situation always changes. But one thing that's interesting is during the dream, there is a moment of lucidity where I'm like, this is the house. I know I'm in the house. And then it's like, and then it takes over, and then I'm in that dream world, and I don't have that lucidity anymore. But there's that split second of acknowledgement, like, oh, I'm in the house in Portland again, and this is just, you know what I mean? What's going on? It's weird.
Can you hear it at all talking to you in your dreams? That's what Jim Brown asked.
No, nothing like that. It's just a feeling. I when I'm there in the house, I feel the presence, and like I said, I have that split second of lucidity where I'm like, okay, this is the home. And I recognize it. I was like, oh, that's the living room. If I go there, that's the back room, or that's the upstairs, right? And it's just wild, there's no definitive or like, what am I looking for? Defining characteristics that like allow me to understand or know what the energy that was there is. I only saw one brief apparition when I was in that house. I lived on the 3rd floor. And a lot of the activity happened on the 2nd floor, to be honest with you. I mean, it happened all over, but most of the negative energy was on the 2nd floor. I remember turning the corner to go up the stairs into the 3rd floor, and I'd always feel like something was just like, it's like, if there was like a tiger or a lion behind you ready to pounce on you, and you're like, right. Oh God, that's the feeling I would get every time. That being said, I was in my room and I swapped over. My brother had an experience in his room, and he moved out 2 weeks later. Literally just like scared the daylights out of him. He's not a paranormal type of guy. Like he doesn't believe in any of that stuff. But he came into my room one day shaking like a leaf saying, there's a ghost in my room. There's a ghost in my room. And then, like I said, 2 weeks later, he moved out. So my view of it was like, oh, cool. I get my brother's room because it's it overlooks the street, and like, that's the better room. It's a bigger room. So I moved in. That night I woke up and there was this big, tall man standing right next to me, and I screamed bloody murder, and it was gone. Never saw it again because I put protective measures over that room. And that was like the safe space from then on. After I put those protective measures in, It was like, if I got, when I ran up the stairs and I got that feeling like, oh, something's behind me, something's grabbing my spine, I'd run up the stairs as fast as I could. I'd slam my door and I'd be like, oh, I'm safe. I'm good. It's weird. It's wild. I'm glad it was 20 years ago.
Linda said, I would trust your feelings, be safe, keep your distance, pray for St. Michael to intervene.
Yeah, that's good advice. That's very good advice.
I wonder if digging into some shadow work into your past would help you with that.
Yeah.
Like a subconscious thing that's your subconscious picked up in your past that affects you, and you don't realize it. That's why it keeps taking you back to the house.
Yeah. Some sort of like unprocessed trauma from living there,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Yeah,
for
most
sure.
definitely. That, like I said, that's very interesting. My sleep paralysis will keep me one day. I know it. But yeah, that's definitely interesting. You mentioned you take martial arts. What kind of martial arts do you take?
I take a version of ninjutsu. So it's like if ninjutsu existed today, how would we defend ourselves? You know what I mean? Because like nobody's walking around with a katana anymore.
Right.
But it's like that. We also do Muay Thai and boxing as well. So we got live sparring as well as kind of more traditional martial arts that have made more modern due to like the necessity for modern day fighting. You know what I mean? People did not
Right.
fight like they did in 1600, so we
Oh, yeah.
adapted to how they would fight nowadays.
Most definitely. Yeah, I got my black belt in '91 in North Korean martial arts, which is Kuk Sool Won.
That's amazing.
And then I used to take a little bit of jitsu, and I took boxing, and I used to cage fight and retired as a heavyweight champion when I was 37.
That's awesome, man.
Yeah, so
That's cool. I'm
I
actually getting
know
my black belt at the end of March.
I I wish I knew Reiki back when I was learning the martial arts, because I know it goes hand in hand, and I
Oh
think
yeah.
it's definitely because now that I'm understanding the Reiki and the things that I know now, and adding it to the martial arts factor. Oh yeah, it explains why certain things that happened back in my past happened,
Yeah.
and I know why, because it was build up energy and it was taken out on somebody at the time.
Yeah. I can hurt you and I can heal you.
Oh yeah, and yeah, I miss it, but my neck can't handle that anymore.
Yeah, I
So
mean, it's starting to wear on me. I've been training for 10 years now, and the old back ain't what it used to be. I can promise you that.
yeah, I mean, I miss it, and I used to teach for a while as well,
Yep.
and like I said, I like it, but I wish I knew Reiki at the time that I was learning martial arts, because I think it'd have been great together.
Yeah.
And now I'm putting the blocks together, knowing what then to now, which actually comes out really good too. So yeah, that's awesome. I remember you were talking on another show I was watching, and you were talking about you have an altar, or was making an altar.
Oh, yeah. I think the altar to is more of a Norse pagan altar. So the one that I have is actually more towards Fenrir, which is in Norse paganism. But yeah, I think that might be the one you're talking about.
Yeah,
Maybe.
I remember you
Could be.
talking about it. Because I've been learning. I learned about altars back when I was taking shaman classes, and I still take
Yeah.
shaman classes. I go like once a month, and
Yep.
we talk about altars and Wiccan and Peruvian stuff
Yep.
with the rocks and stuff. And I also like Egyptian magic.
Very
Do you
cool.
do you deal with Egyptian magic?
I don't personally, but I'm extremely fascinated by it. You know what I mean? I'm kind of like I take bits of all of it and try to understand it and try to work it into my own thing. Like there's a lot of stuff that I definitely hold more dear, and some things I don't. And but I mean I definitely I feel like every single spiritual modality can teach us something and help us grow within our own individual path, which is super cool. So like there's a little bit of Norse paganism that I follow. There's a little bit of, I mean, I dare say Christianity and Catholicism. There's a little bit of the Wiccan. There's a little bit of I mean, all of it is a balance. You know what I mean? And there's
Oh yeah,
always a piece of all of this stuff that we can learn from. So yeah, I mean, I definitely consider myself, the spiritualism too. I mean, I'm a spiritualist minister, you know, but I don't focus only on that, if that makes sense. You know what I mean? I
right.
try to balance it out with everything just so I can have a broader understanding of metaphysics as a whole and just the spiritual realm and how people view it.
Hello, Christy. Yeah, definitely for sure. That's one thing I always say to everybody. Balance is the key. You learn a little bit about the dark side, you learn a little bit about the light side, and then you
100%.
put it together because you got more knowledge when you got them together than just knowing one side or the other. That's definitely.
Absolutely. I could not agree more with that. I mean, that's, yeah, 100%.
Um, it can be at times, but voodoo's kind of its own, like along with hoodoo.
Right.
It's a totally different type of thing. But I do know we had some teachers in class that were teaching us the Peruvian style, and they
Yeah.
used rocks and nature. And when they were sitting there explaining it, I can relate it to the Egyptian style with the crystals and the
Mhm.
magic that they do,
Yep.
and with the nature because it goes hand in hand, and it's just a different version of it. And
Hmm.
I thought that was pretty cool that it just kind of all fell into place.
It kind of, it's much like, I don't know if you have heard this in relationship to martial arts, but I heard this and I think it absolutely relates to the spiritual side of things. If you look at martial arts or even spirituality as a mountain, right? When
Hmm.
at the bottom of the mountain, all the different paths look so far away and so distant from themselves, right? Once we get to
Hmm.
the top, it all meets in the at the same point. It's
Hmm.
all very much the same thing. So it's easier or it's harder on the bottom to see the similarities because they seem so far apart. But once we kind of go up and we learn more and we get to the top of that mountain, they really connect in a lot of
Oh
ways.
yeah, most definitely. And like I said, the more I dig deeper into certain things, and it just keeps flowing like water. And
Yeah.
once you stop learning, if you just stop or don't want to learn anymore, you're just fooling yourself because there's
Hmm.
so much more to just keep digging into.
Absolutely.
It's just like an endless hole. You just
Yeah.
keep learning more and more and more. And I think it's amazing. I mean, I've learned so much from a lot of people, and even talking to people. And I've been blessed with two good mentors that showed me the shamanism and the Reiki,
Yeah.
and it always works great for investigations and understanding things and things that come about, and it's awesome.
It is. Knowledge is a beautiful thing. I love it.
One of the things that our shaman teacher always tells us, it may work for you but not for others, but if it works for you, keep it in your arsenal.
Yeah.
And then you could explain it to somebody else and they can modify it that may work to their advantage. It's
Yep.
not necessarily one way to do it all the time, but somebody may have a different path or be
Absolutely.
taught different.
Yep. I agree.
And I wish more people would be more open minded and share more information out at times instead of just keeping it to themselves.
Yeah, there's no need for gatekeeping when it comes to this stuff. I mean, what's anybody going to benefit from not sharing what they've learned and what they've grown with? You know what I mean? It just is only going to help us all in the long run. So why not share it, right?
Yeah, and knowledge is definitely power, and if you can keep that balance, because some people can't keep that balance. Some people either go to the light side or they'll go to the dark side. They can't keep that balance.
Right.
And I guess I'm blessed with the fact I like to go both sides. I keep that balance because I like to learn that dark side and I like to learn that light side. And then once I know the counters to each other, it's a good feeling instead of
That's right.
just being, oh, I don't know this. But and then also, if I ever get stumped on anything, I've always got people I could call and say, hey, throw this by you. What do you think?
Hmm.
Have you experienced this? And
Right.
they will give me their input,
Yeah.
and I think that's great that I've got connections like that. And I've always told people, that's been on the show, if you need help, don't be afraid to holler, because I could connect you with somebody or I could help you out and we could figure out what's going on together.
That's a beautiful thing, man. I really truly believe that.
Yeah, like I said, and if people would share more knowledge in this field, I think we would be so much farther along.
Yeah, I
I,
agree.
I mean, because you could have a piece of my puzzle, I could have a piece of your puzzle, not even realize it, and it could have been solved months ago, and we could
Right.
be looking at something totally different.
Right. And then it gets the picture together and you're like, oh, there it is. Like, oh shit. Like I didn't even think of that. But it's like working together allows for those worlds to connect, which is super fucking cool.
Yeah, most definitely. So when you go on investigations, is there any type of preparation you do before you go on an investigation?
Yep. So I will definitely kind of reach out to the universe, my guides, my ancestors, my loved ones, and just ask for protection. I think that that covers my bases on a spiritual level. I also I thank the spirits for connecting with me, or if they even choose to connect with me. I mean, I give them the option because I think truly we all have free will, whether we're living in the physical world or whether we're in the spiritual world. And it's not for me to say, "Hey, I'm coming. You have to tell me this, this, and this." It's like that's not cool. It's up to them. If they want to communicate with me, I love them and appreciate them for that, and I let them know. And if they don't want to communicate with me, I love them and appreciate them, and I let them know. So those are the kind of things I put into place. I do what pray, for lack of a better word. Put those intentions out there. Put that love vibration out there. That feeling of like I'm just here to connect and hear your story, and not judge. Just literally be an open mind for you. And if they, like I said, if they choose to communicate with me, that's awesome. And if not, that's okay too.
Do you have any particular guardian or guide that you kind of hesitated wanted to working with because of what you've learned in the past?
Not necessarily a guy that I was hesitant to work with, but I will tell you an interesting story. And I don't know if I've actually shared this much on anybody's podcast, even my own. There was guides there. I have two main guides, right? And they're ones that I didn't really know who or what they were for the longest time. When I was born, I was a triplet, right? Unfortunately, my two siblings passed at birth, and their umbilical cords kind of wrapped around my stomach, which cut off their life supply, unfortunately. Left me with two very big scars that go around my stomach. So I have a reminder of them every single day, right? However, growing up, I would always feel these two energies around me. I never could see a face. I never knew a name, anything like that, because very much like in life, they did not live long enough to have a face or a name. However, I learned later from another medium friend of mine that that's who they were, and that was what was going forward. So I started implementing them and using them as guides going forward. So it's not that I was hesitant or anything like that. I just didn't know. But now I use them absolutely in a lot of my spiritual work and just in investigations to kind of help me be, one, a liaison to the spirit world. I use them as a liaison. And two, to just kind of help me facilitate that protective healing throughout the whole process, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it does. It definitely does. I mean, I use like several different guides and guardians that I have.
Yep.
And they seem to do very well when I ask and work with them. And I greatly appreciate it when they do show up. I mean, I have a wolf animal spirit. I've also have a jaguar that keeps me very well protected and grounded as well.
Nice.
And yeah, I mean, I've had some people say they can't actually read me, and I think that's kind of cool. But that's a good thing. Keeping people on the fence once in a while is a good thing.
Is never a bad thing, right?
Most definitely. So, is there anything that you would recommend to new teams starting out that are just getting into the field?
Yeah, I mean, I would say it's easy when we're first starting out to kind of run with everything that you're getting and seeing and stuff from the gadgets or your own self. If you're using kind of more of a mediumistic approach, right? I would say, given that, absolutely work with validation. Work with what you can pinpoint and say, okay, this is what it is. You know what I mean? Like, make sure that, I mean, I really harp on this a lot, is validation is the key. And I say this a lot, mediumship without validation is just imagination, right? So true. I really think that is something that people should implement, is just, if you want to do your research beforehand, that's great. If you don't want to, that's great too, but make sure that you don't run with it. If you're like, there's this person, and then, create these elaborate stories that might not be rooted in reality, because unfortunately, like we talked about earlier with mental health, it can affect someone's mental health if they truly feel like they're connecting with X, Y, and Z, and it's not validated, right?
Mhm.
It's hard. It's a very blurred line. You know what I mean? Like,
It
and
is.
it can make things complicated if you're not able to validate those things. So I think that any team starting out, whether you're using the mediumship approach or whether you're using the investigative approach, just make sure that the things you're getting are being able to be validated. So you know, one, that the information can be tracked down and documented properly, and that you know you're connecting with what is really there and not just something that you hope or think is there. You know what I mean? Does that make sense?
Yeah, that does make sense. It definitely does. I mean, when I used to be just a member of a team, I didn't really want to know anything about the location when I went there. I didn't
Yeah.
want it to interfere with what I'd feel when I go onto the location.
Yep.
And then being a lead now, we've got to do the research a little bit, understand what's going on there, and also keep our team safe, the people that go with us as well.
Mm-hmm.
But that's one thing, I think a lot of people should do, is focus on the safety too, as that when they go to a location and not blow something out of line and say it's a demon.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
if somebody's there that's actually believing that, they can self manifest more stuff there, and it would make them more paranoid. I mean, go in there with some common sense and
Yep.
reasoning and trying to understand what's going on there in the house or the residence or the location,
Yep.
because it could affect somebody's life drastically, like you said.
Yep. And I think, like you said, I'm really glad you brought up the whole demon thing, because people could go in there and they're like, oh my God, like something was negative. It's a demon. Yeah. Well, it could just be someone's uncle who's pissed off. He was a dickhead when he was here. He's a dickhead now that he's in the spirit world. You know what I mean? He's just the same guy.
Most
He's just
definitely.
an ornery man. You know what I mean? He just doesn't like people, like, just all piss and vinegar. So it
Yeah.
could be the same thing. It doesn't necessarily make it a demon. You know what I mean?
And it makes it hard for some teams to go in there, that to clean up after somebody else's mess, I should say.
Yeah.
For the fact of saying it's a demon, because then that whole time that you're not there to help take care of the issue or help those clients or those people, they've been manifesting more things into that house.
Yep.
And compounding things that can make it a hell of a lot worse.
Manifestation is huge. You have an investigative team that comes in, feels some sort of maybe not so pleasant energy, and they tell you it's a demon, and all of a sudden you're like, oh man, like this. Then they're gonna run with it in their mind and then manifest this thing that like is just way blown out of proportion. So you got to really be careful, I think, too. Like you said, I mean, giving the information to the client that you're working with or the location that you're working with, like be really careful with the evidence that you present to them and how it's presented. That's why I say the validation is so important,
I mean, I remember right when I started this team after I left the old team, we had an elderly lady that had a house here in the town that I live in. And she called us up and she says, we've got noises in the house and shadows walking through and everything. And I was like, okay. So I took a team of rookies, because that's the new team when we started. And I explained, hey, we're not going to do a live tonight. We're just going to do this by the book. We're going to help this lady out, etc. And we got in there, we set up stuff, we set up our grids, and we seen some shadows actually walking by. We actually went outside the house, walked around the house to try to debunk it, to make sure why we were seeing it, what was doing this. Mm-hmm. And then we got over the obvious. We've got some kids talking in the back room. Mm. And because she said they would pull on her pant leg, or they'd tug on her shirt, or they'd open her cabinets up. And we discovered it was those two little kids. And she walked back there. She wanted to hear it for herself. This is an 80-year-old lady that wanted to go back there and find out what we found out. And she goes, hi. And they say, old. That's what come over obvious, old.
Oh, my goodness. That's great.
And she laughed. She goes, I'm not old. And all of a sudden you hear, hey, that's not it. And it was just kids.
Yeah, kids being kids.
The funny thing about it, when I think is kids the most, is they'll say devil, demon, things like that, to try to scare you away, because they want to scare you. They want you to leave.
And they know it works.
No, it does not do anything. So we discovered it was kids. And she asked, what are we going to do with the spirits here? And I said, well, what would you like me to do? And she says, they can stay at my house. I said, okay. I said, but you've got to realize these little noises you're hearing are the tugs on your pants or the tugs on your shirt. I said, they're looking up to you as like grandma figure.
Right.
They're wanting attention.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe open up a kid's book during the day sometime when you're not doing anything. Read a story out loud. Just read it out loud. Or play some old music.
Yeah.
I play old music all the time. And she says, I'm going to leave your phone number up here on the fridge. And if I have any more problems, I'm going to call you. So I let it go for about 4 days. And I went and knocked on her door. And she goes, Sean, I'm so glad you came. And she says, I was actually going to sell this house, but now I understand what's going on here. And I like staying here now.
That's awesome. That's beautiful.
So, I mean, that was all I needed for thanks. The fact that it went well. We helped her understand what was going on, and we gave her validation of what was going on there as well. And I thought that was the best payment in the world.
That's awesome, man. Much respect and love for you on that one. That's cool.
And that's the reason why I'm in this field. I like to help people and let them understand what's going on around them. 100%. There's a difference how a shadow feels compared to a negative entity if we are not operating through fear.
That is very true.
Yes, I can agree with that.
Yep.
I can definitely agree with that. I mean, I've felt different types of energies that will affect me different. And you can definitely tell if it's got some meanness to it, I guess.
Yep. It's got a little bit of a bite to it. I'm curious too. Like, one thing I think is important for people to understand too is not every house that you encounter that somebody is experiencing, a haunting at is truly haunted by a spirit. And the reason why I say that is because I did an investigation for a gentleman he was just really, there was one room or a couple of rooms in particular where it was really bothering him. The energy was heavy. It was bad. He just didn't want to go in. He's like, I don't even go in there anymore. I closed the room off. Right. After getting to talking to him, he was reliving past trauma that he experienced while in those rooms. So it wasn't that it was spiritual energy. It was his PTSD that was manifesting these things and him masking it under the guise of paranormal. So sometimes it's not spiritual things that are haunting the house. It's the own individual haunting themselves,
Yeah.
I think being open to those possibilities is, because it's a wide range of things that could happen. You never know from client to client, from house to house. You never know the situation. Everything is going to be different. So I think having an open mind to what you're going to walk into is important too.
Yeah. I mean, nothing's ever the same thing twice in any type of investigation.
Never.
And like you said, you got to go in there with an open-minded and actually listen to the people there too, to put the puzzles together and understand what they're going through. And that does help out a lot as well. For sure.
Yep.
Definitely for sure. Man, we are at the top of the hour already, Chris.
God damn that. It's a good conversation when it goes by that quick.
I love it. I love it when conversation goes like this and the show goes great and et cetera. And people learn from things. We had a lot of people in here tonight making comments and, asking a few questions here and there. And I greatly appreciate each and every one of you stopping in and your support as well. Is there anything you'd like to say before closing out and where people can find you, Chris?
People can find me right on Facebook. They can either go to my personal page, which is Christopher J. Brown, or they can check out me at Psychic Medium Christopher. I post a lot of the events I'm going to be at, whether it be Paracons, whether it be gallery reading events. I got a really big gallery reading coming up in Augusta, Maine on March 5th with my friend and fellow medium, Scott Allen. It's literally at this place called the Augusta Civic Center. It's crazy. We've already sold a lot of tickets there, and it's going to be a big gallery reading. It's going to be cool. I just can't say enough about how much I appreciate all the love and support from everybody who has either watched the Medium Frequency or watched me on other podcasts or just supported me in any way over the years. Like, truly, like, my heart goes out to you all. Like, nothing but love and respect, truly. If I could give back to that, that's the best way I can do it. And if there's any way I can help anybody, please reach out to me. Let me know. I don't know. It's overwhelming sometimes. It's truly humbling. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm grateful.
How does it feel to be a podcaster with us on All Access?
it's kind of surreal. You know what I mean? Like Raven and Gwen. Like I was at a Paracon in Salem, and they both came up to me. They were like, "Chris." They're like, "We got a question for you." I'm like, "Oh shit, what?" They're like, "Do you want to be a co-host on the podcast?" And I was like, "Oh shit!" Like, I would be honored. Like, it truly, like, I mean, I'm getting goosebumps now just remembering it. Like, I am just very humbled and grateful that I was even asked and approached about it, and that that it's been going so well, and I got to getting to meet people and talk with people and just learn and grow. This is all a wild journey that I've been on, and like I said, it's just beyond humbling. So I'm very grateful to everybody who has supported me in any sort of way, or anything that in the paranormal is just it's an honor, truly.
Yeah, it's awesome. Like I said, I've been with All Access for a little over a year now, and we've had a great run so far. I'm also the backup for Gwen when she's busy, and I help out Gwen a lot backstage and run some shows here and there for her as well.
Yep.
And it's awesome. It's definitely time consuming as well, and but it's been a great run so far. I mean, a year and probably 2 months now since I've been on the network, and
congrats, man. That's
amazing. Really great. It's been really cool, and I appreciate all the help they gave me as well. So I'm going to say this here. I'm going to leave you up because let's see here. Next week, my guest will be Gellick Paranormal Society. So I'll be looking forward to having them on the show. And that will be next Sunday at 7 p.m. Central Standard Time. And as me and Chris, we like to thank each and every one of you who watches All Access Network Television and watches our shows and supports us as well. And you all have a great weekend, the rest of it, and hopefully have a safe week as well. We're out of here.